And so if we're eating a diet that's varied in all these types of foods, we know that we're getting a great variety of nutrients. A healthy diet also emphasizes whole, minimally processed foods. So I know that cutting a cucumber into julienne slices is technically processed, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is something, a food that we take, we strip it down to something and then we add a bunch of stuff to it. That's what I mean by processed. So the more foods that we eat in their whole form, the better. Also incorporates many different plants. So fruits, veggies, beans, nuts, seeds, legumes. We know that that plants have a lot of fiber, number one, a lot of vitamins and minerals that you don't necessarily get from animal products. A healthy diet is one that has an appropriate macronutrient breakdown to provide you with optimal energy levels. This is different for everybody. Some people do really well on a high carb diet. Some people need a low carb diet, and it's very individual. So whatever macronutrient breakdown works for you is healthy for you. In terms of calories, it's an appropriate level to maintain your weight, but also to provide satisfaction and pleasure with your meals. So not restrictive, but also, that you're not overeating to the point where you're uncomfortable, to the point where you're gaining weight rapidly. And that, again, is different for everybody. And finally, but maybe most importantly, a healthy diet is one that allows for proper social and cultural enjoyment. So if you find that you're trying to maintain a somewhat strict diet to the point where you're not enjoying it with people you love, or you're restricting your favorite foods, or you're not enjoying culturally important foods to you, then it's probably not healthy, regardless of the food content. So that's how I would define a healthy diet. It's very subjective and very individualized, but that's exactly what it is. Nobody's the same. Okay, in terms of structuring meals, this can sometimes help a lot of people to know kind of the breakdown of what they should be eating to help get to that calorie level that's appropriate for them. So in general, I would say half of your plate should be those plants, those fruits and veggies. And that's because we know that if you're eating that much of those fruits and veggies, you're getting fiber and you're getting micronutrients. And about a quarter of it should be your carbohydrates, which can be grains, but can also be, beans or lentils or something like that. And then a quarter of it is your protein. And so the reason this helps is because if you really think about it, about half of your plate is macronutrients and half is focusing more on the micronutrients and fiber. And then dairy is optional. That's just there. You don't have to have dairy with every meal. Okay, so let's take a look at this picture. This is a good way to kind of gauge whether or not you're adding macro or micronutrients. So the picture on the left where we have our chicken and potatoes, very clearly we have protein and carbohydrate in that picture. There's some red in the skins of the potatoes, which is great, but overall it's not super colorful. It's a little bit beige, and the whole plate is chicken and potatoes. Now, if we look at the one on the right, we have about half of the plate is cucumber and broccolini, which is our color. And then we still have the chicken and potatoes, but about 50% of that meal is veggies, and then 50% is the chicken and potatoes. So as a rule of thumb, what you would do is decide what your main course is and then add color so that your plate looks a little bit like that one on the right. And then you're getting vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Okay, let's talk about supplements. This is a huge topic. One of the biggest questions I get from the myotonic dystrophy community is about supplements. So I'll just start off by saying there is no known supplement to benefit the myotonic dystrophy population. There isn't one that we know has a blanket benefit. So in terms of deciding whether or not to take supplements, it's really important to meet with a dietitian so that they can identify with you if your diet is lacking in certain foods, like if you don't eat green stuff, or you are a vegetarian but you've never really learned how to eat. That's one case where you want to make sure that you're not lacking a specific food group. You can use supplements if you do have a proven deficiency. Most of us in North America are vitamin D deficient. So if you don't spend a lot of time in the sun, you should probably be taking vitamin D. Basically, any neuromuscular disorder should be taking vitamin D. So that's a really important one. Other than that, other supplements to consider would be, just a multivitamin with minerals. And that will ensure that you're missing any gaps in micronutrients. If you think that, you don't eat a whole lot of veggies, or, you're not making a whole lot of foods at home, just a multivitamin with minerals will cover basically everything. If you don't eat a lot of fish, then, omega-3 fish oil supplement can be a good idea. I did already talk about vitamin D. It's so important for bone health. And then you can consider taking fiber if you want to try to get more regular, or probiotics if you think that you have sort of an imbalance in your gut flora. You can get probiotics from foods as well, but acidophilus is a pretty popular probiotic supplement if you're looking to kind of change your gut flora. So those are the ones I generally recommend on an individual basis. But some of the letter vitamins, like I mentioned, those B's and the C that are water soluble, they're so easy to get from food, and you will almost never see a deficiency in those vitamins in our country. So I generally don't recommend individual letter vitamins. If you're concerned about a specific one, a multivitamin can really cover that. Okay, so one of the issues with supplements that it's important to consider is that they are not regulated by our government. So the actual nutrient content of that supplement can vary. It may or may not reflect what they say, what's on the bottle in terms of the content. Even from pill to pill can vary. The statements on those supplements are not evaluated. A good example of this that I see a lot is B vitamin supplements for energy. And, we already talked about micronutrients. Vitamins do not provide energy. They don't have calories.